If this life is all it is, it's pretty depressing. In chapter 6, Solomon shows a fatalistic attitude. Life isn't fair, you cop what you get, can't do anything about it, so you might as well grab what you can when you can. It's a short chapter and I'm going to read it to you from the Message. There's two halves. How bad life is, what you do with a bad life. First one. I looked long and hard at what goes on around here, and let me tell you, things are bad, and people feel it. There are people, for instance, whom God showers everything, money, property, reputation, all they ever wanted or dreamt of, and then God doesn't let them enjoy it. Some stranger comes along and has all the fun. It's more of what I called smoke, a bad business. Say a couple have scores of children and live a long, long life, but never enjoy themselves, even though they end up with a big funeral. I'd say that a stillborn baby gets the better deal. It gets its start in a mist and ends up in the dark, unnamed. It sees nothing and knows nothing, but it's better off by far than anyone living. Even if someone lived 1,000 years, make it 2,000, but didn't enjoy anything, what is the point? Doesn't everyone end up in the same place? Well, that's Solomon's first thought. Long life is miserable. A man can get everything and can't enjoy it. I wonder what happened to him. Did he die young? Did the stock market crash? Did rebels come and steal everything he owned? We don't know. He just didn't get time to enjoy it. And then the second case, there's a man who has a long life, a big family, but he doesn't enjoy it. And the NIV says he doesn't receive a proper funeral. Well, we can relate to that today, can't we? One of our neighbours from the Central Coast died recently, and he had a big family, and the restrictions on funerals were 10 people. That didn't include his brothers and sisters, his children, his grandchildren. So they ran 2 funerals, one after the other, so at least the immediate family could be there. How sad not to be able to say goodbye to someone you loved. And then long life is miserable. So the shorter it is, the better, according to Solomon. You're better off being a stillborn and not being living at all. Now, Solomon doesn't really know what happens in the afterlife. He lived over 1,000 years before Christ, and Christ it was who came to show us the way. 2 Timothy 1:10 says, Jesus Christ has destroyed death and brought life and immortality to light through the gospel. We know that there is a better life in store for us. And as for that stillborn child, in Psalm 139, verse 13, it says, you knit me together in my mother's womb. A child has life before it is born, at conception. I had a miscarriage before I had my first child. And I never got to meet my little Peter Anthony, but I know that one day in heaven I will, and we'll have eternity to get to know each other. Now the second half, Solomon cynically says, life is weighed against us, so grab what you can. Going on from verse 7. We work to feed our appetites. Meanwhile, our souls go hungry. So what advantage has a sage over a fool, or even some poor wretch who barely gets by? Just grab whatever you can while you can. Don't assume something's better might turn up by and by. All it amounts to anyway is smoke and spitting into the wind. Whatever happens, happens. Its destiny is fixed. You can't argue with fate. The more words that are spoken, the more smoke there is in the air. And who is any better off? And who knows what's best for us as we live our meagre, smoke and shadow lives? And who can tell any of us the next chapter of our life? So that's Solomon's answer. Just grab what you can and make the best of it. You don't have any choice. What he said in verse 7 was, we work to feed our appetites. Meanwhile, our souls go hungry. Jesus was more concerned with feeding our souls than with feeding our bodies. Remember when he fed the 5,000 with the loaves and the fishes? And the people sat and ate, and then they came to Jesus and they said, do a miracle for us, like Moses did in the desert with the manna. How could they say that then when he's just fed them? But Jesus spoke to them and he said, I am the bread of life. He who eats from me will never be hungry, and he who believes in me will never be thirsty. He wanted to feed the emptiness in their spirit. And he gives deep and lasting satisfaction. It's not chance that rules our lives. It's God who weaves them together. We may not always see that, but that's because we see the wrong side of the tapestry. It says in Romans 8:28 that all things work together for good for those who love him and are called according to his purposes. Jesus doesn't promise an easy life. He says in John 16:32, in this life there will be many troubles, but take cheer, I have overcome the world. It's a matter of our focus. Keep your eyes on Jesus and look at the things that are good and keep looking up. Bye.